You're watching The Lone Sculptor, Lessons from Quarantine.
Welcome back to the couch for Proportions Part 2. Today we're going to be looking at the front of the face and applying the exact same canon of proportions we looked at from the profile to the front of the face, okay? So starting off, we are going to use sort of a very generic oval. We are in fact going to be creating the most generic face that ever existed, just as a reference of sort of what the canon of averages are. In real life, nobody is this generic, but it's a great starting off point. Okay, and we're going to keep it really simple so that if this is new to you, hopefully it has time to sort of sink in. And if this is a review, well, then you should just breeze through it with great ease. So first off, with my oval that I'm making, you'll see it's a little bit wider at the top and a bit skinnier at the bottom because I'm simplifying sort of the shape of the head, which is wider at the top. We'll talk more about all these things. First thing I'm going to do that's a little bit new is I'm going to draw a center line. Okay, so a center line is essentially just like a plumb line running down, in theory, the middle of the face to helping us divide one side from the other side so that we can eventually make it a little bit more symmetrical. I'm not going to spend too much time making it perfect, but it does help make sure you're not going wildly out of control. So there's sort of like our center line, and if you remember, the very first proportion we talked about was the height of the head and finding the sort of midpoint on it. So finding where the middle in that distance would be. So say I'm going to guesstimate it's going to be around there. I'm going to double check by measuring with my pencil. Pretty good. So this is sort of my first proportional landmark here, halfway point, and that is going to be the eyes. So I'm just going to throw on some little symbolic almond eyes here, just as placeholders. Our next proportion was thirds, and if you remember from the other video, we talked about how we want to go down a little bit from the top of the head, and we want to find where the hairline would be. So that's just a bit down, and now we're going to divide this distance into thirds. So I'm going to just guesstimate first, just eyeballing it. Again, you can hold your paper away from you in order to see it more clearly. You can also measure with your pencil and check how your thirds are doing. This is all right. Okay, so once I've got that blocked out in my thirds, let me draw it on this side, as you can see. This is third number 1. Number 2. Third number 3. Okay, again, I'm doing this very simplistic, very low tech here. What this line represents is going to be the brow line. It's going to be some eyebrows. Then this is going to be our nose, like the bottom of the nose where it's ending. Okay, so we'll just make a tiny nose for the moment. This is going to be our hairline coming down. And now to give the mouth, we want to divide this distance in half. Again, double check that you've done a nice job. And that's going to be the bottom part of the bottom lip. Okay, so the division for the mouth is going to be maybe up here, and the top lip is going to be up here, and that's going to be the bottom lip. If we want to put ears on there, our ears are going to be falling. This is a new piece of information from the last week, between the nose and the eyebrow if the head is in a neutral position. If the head's looking up or down, that rule just goes right out the window. But anyways, you can add some exciting ears there if you like. Okay, so that's the very basic proportion of a head. I can add on my neck. And I can use that as a starting off point to kind of go in and create some more definition in the features and give a more detailed kind of representation, but that's the basic idea. Now, the new thing with the front of the face is that we now have to deal with two things, actually, symmetry and width. So I'm going to be talking more about this in the coming days, but the first thing to think of is symmetry. So that means, is one side equal to the other side in terms of their distance from the center point? Are they relating to each other this way, so one eye is not lower than the other, etc.? So that's sort of symmetry. And then width means the width of the head or the features. So for example, what is the width of my nose this way? What's the width of my eye this way? What's the width of my mouth? Right? Whereas before, from the profile view, we didn't have to worry about any of that. We were looking at depths. So from this front view, we actually can't see anything about the depths. So we don't know how far the nose is coming out or anything. We can just see the widths. And I'm focusing on this because that is what is important about these views in sculpting. This is all directly applicable to sculpting. So this is more about sculpting than drawing, really. A couple quick tips about some of the statistical averages of feature placement, which I don't really use that much in sculpting, but if you want to play with it a little bit here, you can. Is that generally the eyes are about an eye width apart from each other. So let me move that one over. I just threw it in there quickly. That's my center point. Then maybe this eye is going to actually be over here. This eye is going to be over here. And the nose width is sometimes the width, like the nostrils, sometimes the width of the inner corner of the eye. And if there's an eyeball, an iris with a pupil, sometimes the mouth, the corners of the mouth goes out to that level. Okay, but don't worry too much about this if this is all new to you. We're going to be talking more about that, and we're going to be making some more accurate drawings in the days to come. This is just that basic overview of the main proportions. So again, our halfway point for the eyes in the whole height of the head, and then our thirds, and then our halfway to find the lip. So go forth, practice those proportions until they become second nature to you. I'm going to toss up a few examples that I'm going to do here myself, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining the Loon Sculptor. See you next time.